What is going on, guys? My name is Feeds. Welcome back to Feeds Mindset, episode number 44 with the wonderful lady BadWolfRose. Rose, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I definitely appreciate your time. It has been a wild ride this past month for both of us, and I appreciate, just both of us being able to do this podcast today. So it means a lot you being on.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, let's get into it. Before we kind of get into all the questions and everything, let's just kind of set the tone for anybody watching. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is BadWolfRose or Rose. I am a variety streamer over on Kick. I also stream to YouTube as well as I just started streaming to TikTok. And I also host a podcast outside of all that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Have you? So obviously, you do some other podcasts. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
I've only been on Frosties and Smooglies. So
Gotcha. Okay,
this is my
that's
second
cool.
one.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. How does it feel being a part of another podcast while you run your own?
It's really exciting because when I was on Cushion Confessions, I did not have my podcast yet. And so it's really cool to like be on this side now that I have
Yeah.
learned a lot of things and done
Yeah.
a decent chunk of things with our podcast. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's sick. I mean, you get to be able to compare and kind of have those experiences. So yeah, I'm sure that means a great deal. I can only imagine how much that would be able to help enhance, your podcast and stuff, because you take my podcast and Frosty and Schmoogly's podcast, and you kind of get to compare that to your own to help improve it. So yeah, that's definitely sick. I'm glad that you have that. So with the games that you play right now, is there any main games that you play? You just variety or?
I usually stream Final Fantasy 14. I am a raider, so we raid twice a week, but we're taking a break right now. So I'm just playing as much as I can with other people, and I'm focusing on Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth at the moment since that just came
Nice.
out, but it is a massive game.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah, I remember playing the Final Fantasy remastered that had came out. I don't know how long ago, but I remember I was playing it during COVID. I remember that was a big game for me. I don't know how soon that was when all that was going down, but I remember that was a big game for me that I played. I was sitting in my living room on my couch with a laptop in front of me and just laying there sick playing Final
That's
Fantasy
awesome.
7. It was fun though. I had a blast. It was sick.
It's such a good game. This one's definitely way bigger than the remake. So,
Really?
like, a lot of people are playing like 100 to 120 hours.
That's
And I think the
crazy.
first one you could beat in like 30 or 40.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's sick. That's cool. I'm glad that you have that. So let's just kind of get into it. We've talked about gaming and stuff, so I'm really intrigued to kind of learn about, not particularly, of course, your childhood, but just growing up, getting into gaming and not even gaming itself, just this content creation space. Just kind of take me back through, however early you can remember when you started gaming and started learning about this whole space.
um, I think I I sold my soul kind of and got a Mac a long time ago, around the time I met my husband, and I stopped gaming for a long time. I'd gamed as a kid, and then as an adult, I eventually was able to have the money to buy myself an adult PC, gaming PC. And so I think that that was like a really big turning moment for me and my gaming and eventually my streaming. But it was really cool to get back into WoW with some friends and then realize that Final Fantasy 14 was still out there and start learning about all these amazing communities that were there as well. And so I got my PC, I got to play all those games again, and I eventually ended up in like a really awesome, supportive community that I helped grow and lead. And that's actually what pushed me into streaming. Between rating and other people just telling me that I'd be really good at doing this and it would be a lot of fun to like watch me do this. Um, I started recording our raid nights just so that we would have copies of it and we could get better. And then it turned into a lot more than that, and here I am, and it's been a wild ride since then.
Yeah.
COVID was definitely a big factor too. I had a lot of time.
Definitely. Well, that's sick. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and try to break this down from the beginning. So, as a kid, was there any specific games that you grew up on that really kind of hit home for you?
I think playing Duck Hunt with my brother, and then also playing Street Fighter with him and his friends. And I don't think that they would let me win all the time, but it was a lot of fun to be able to play with them because he's 11 years older than me, and so that was kind of like, oh my god, he's like my big brother, and I get to play these things with him.
Yeah.
So playing on that SNES was like a really big thing, as well as like Sonic. I think that was the first game I played by myself, really. So Sonic was really huge. I remember crying whenever he got in 64 and turned in our Sega. So it was huge.
That's sick. Did you ever play any Nintendo 64 games when he turned it in?
Yep. Because I cried, my mom made him buy me a game. And so he bought me Diddy Kong Racing. And so Diddy
Oh,
Kong Racing was
nice.
really big for me. And it was a lot of fun. And like that theme song is forever embedded in
Embedded
my
in your
brain.
head, yeah.
Mhm.
That's cool. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Nintendo 64 because that's what I was going to say. My earliest memory that I can remember is I have a brother and a sister. They're both older than me, and my sister's the oldest. And when I was around like maybe like 8, 9 years old, we would all play so they had the Pokemon League on the Nintendo 64, and they would have the mini games that you could play on the Pokemon League. And we had a $5 championship WWE belt that we would play for every weekend, and we would battle for it every weekend, and whoever won got to keep
Oh
the
my God.
title. And we would get to make like little smirky comments to each other like during the week, like, you ready to get your butt beat again next weekend, and it was an awesome time, and those are definitely things that I will fully cherish, because just being able to sit there with Nintendo 64 controllers in my head with both my brother and sister beside me while we're all just arguing and smashing buttons to win the mini games and stuff, it's something you can't put a price on. It's just a
No,
memory that I never want to erase from my brain.
no. And like, I feel like you could even turn that into something now. Like, could you imagine the content you could make around that belt?
Yeah, no, you
Like,
definitely
that's so
could.
cool.
Yeah, no, you definitely could. I feel like that's kind of the cool thing about gaming is like it's evolved so much, but a lot of our plans and intentions can still be the same. Like even just like that. Like yeah, we played for a little silly belt and it was all fun and games. You can do that exact same thing nowadays. You could do the same thing we did as kids, and now we're just adults, and it means more, and we're more angry, and we swear more. So it
Yep,
kind of would
yep.
work out. Yeah. So that would be sick. That would be really cool. Because I know that the Nintendo Switch has their Nintendo 64 extension, and I think it's on there. I can't remember.
I wouldn't doubt that is. It's really cool to see them bring back like Pokemon Snap too. That was something I remember playing with my friends. Like I was stuck at my friend's house because my mom was working or doing something, and we played Pokemon Snap, and it was just super chill. We also played the card game, but it was fun to sit and play in 64.
Yeah, definitely. I played the Pokemon game that I've mentioned. Obviously, Super Mario. I feel like that's kind of everybody. I played. I don't remember what the game was called, but it was something about Donkey Kong, where you were like Donkey Kong and you would run around in this whole world and you would like try to save everybody from being trapped. And then there was one more. Freak, what's it? Banjo and Kazooie. That's a game that I
I
played a
never played
ton.
that.
Oh my gosh, that is so. It was such a fun game to just be able to play and sit back. And I would still play it now. And I feel like that's kind of the cool thing now is a lot of people kind of forget games that they played and how advanced technology is. Like you can still remember those old times, and you can buy these emulators or these expansion packs on these certain consoles, and you can just relive it all over again and create content from it.
Yeah, yeah. And no, and they're like remastering so much of our childhood, like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. And like, I even saw an announcement the other day that there might be like a Spyro 4 coming out. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to go back and play all the things and then come back to that. Because yeah, it's just nostalgia. And like you said, it forever evolves, but you're always like that little kid, which I think that's something hard as adults in this rat race that we live every day to like feed that little kid that's inside of you. It's something
Yeah.
that keeps you young and keeps you happy and mentally more stable. And so, yeah, those are good fuel for that child inside of you.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, that and whenever we got our PlayStation 2, Guitar Hero was really, really big in our family. And we didn't do like the same like championship build and stuff, but we would just play all the time, just play like the co-op plays and stuff, and it was just a blast. Like I can't remember a lot of it. I just remember sitting there and just playing and listening to the songs, and your hands be hurting, be like, come on, one more song, we can do it. Come on. You're like, I can't. You're like, hey, you can. Come on.
Okay, did Guitar Hero have a endless playlist like Rock Band did?
I can't. I think you can make a playlist, but I don't know if they had like an actual like just songs and songs and songs. I may be wrong, but I remember you being able to make a playlist of like 7 or 8 songs you wanted to play in a row. But yeah, but that was it was just a wild time. It was really sick to just kind of be able to play that. And now, as adults, we sit here and we listen to these songs that we don't even know the artist of, and we're just there
Yep.
dancing and stuff and chilling, and it's just an awesome time. And I definitely think that's a very huge part of our history. Definitely being like Guitar Hero and Rock Band and stuff. I think that really influenced a lot of musicality and a lot of kids, including ourselves.
Yeah, and it brought it into the gaming space. Like if you weren't around that world really before, it definitely kind of opened your eyes to that. God, and I feel like you were either like a rock band person or you were a guitar hero.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It was definitely a sick time. So getting into childhood, and you're playing your games and you're playing with your brothers and stuff, and you're fast forwarding, you get your first ever Mac that you said you had. So how does that work out for you? What games did you play, and why did you buy the Mac?
Oh my god, it was awful. It was meant to like just be like a computer for us to use, and be like our household computer. And then I tried to game on it. And I played Elder Scrolls Online on it because you could play it on the Mac, and I could also download Final Fantasy 11, which I grew up. That was one of my first MMOs that I played, and it was really cool to download it. But oh my god, that Mac is so terrible. At least the one we had, it was not. They're not known to be good gaming machines.
Yeah.
I think they have come a long way, and they state that they can support more things now, and a lot of companies do that. But it was very different back then because what I met my husband in 2009. So we probably got that in like 2000. I don't know, probably 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And so it definitely did not support much. And like Elder Scrolls like ran on it, but I had to have really crappy settings to do it. So I just feel like it was like one of my biggest sins I ever committed in my gaming career. And I will forever say that and mention that because I felt very ashamed I had a Mac and not an actual PC. But it served its purpose for what we needed as a family to like do things.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely agree. I feel like being ashamed is a little bit too harsh because I mean that did really, your Mac set the tone for you. And I'm sure I'm obviously just like any PC person, there's a lot about PCs that we all have to learn, but being able to have some type of pre-built PC, home PC or something, it develops, a general based knowledge, kind of like about your car, like changing oil or changing a tire. Like it's simple things that not a lot of people know how to do, but if you've done it once or twice or watched a video or something, you'll learn how to do it. So it sounds like the Mac that you had really did, even though it didn't play a huge role in your gaming, it really sounded like it set the tone for the motivation and drive to be like, this is not how I want to start my journey. I want to be professional and really get out there. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, no, and like I knew that I'd eventually have to have like an actual gaming computer to do anything that I wanted to, even just to play games before I had decided that I was going to stream.
Yeah.
So,
So take me through now. We've learned the Mac. We played Wizard 101, and we played all these games. Take me through when you got your first gaming PC.
um I don't even remember what year it was, but I decided like I wasn't going to go walk into a store and just buy one from Best Buy, and I also was not confident enough to build one, and I didn't know people that had built one. So I found a happy medium where I paid Digital Storm to build me a PC. So I had a Digital Storm PC, and actually I still have it. My husband uses it to game on. I gave it to
Nice.
him. I built a new PC last October. So in 2023, I built a new PC, but it was really cool. Like I had to upgrade that one, and that's when I realized I'm like, oh my god, it's like an adult puzzle. Like this is not that bad, and I had enough friends that could support me and help me at that point too. But it was really great to finally have a PC from Digital Storm. It took forever for me to get it,
Yeah.
but I was so excited to be able to play WoW again. Like I hadn't played WoW since I was a
You can
kid,
play it on
and I
better
had
settings.
Yep, played on better settings, and it's so much more than what it was back then, growing up because I played it when it originally came out. And so it was really cool to do that. And I was like, oh, I can be a gamer again, and like I can be a nerd again, and like it's okay. It's not a side that I really showed people,
Yeah.
probably until that point, really.
Yeah. Well, that's sick. And it's actually, your story is actually really unique because it's literally the flip flop version of mine, because I had, during COVID, I was making a little bit more. I'd got laid off from my job for about 2 months, and I was making just like an extra $100, $200 a week more than I was making at my job. So I saved that up for 3 or 4 weeks, bought myself a shitty preset PC, and bought it, played it, whatever. Long story short, ended up getting ready to be able to financially afford to build my own, and which he's not really around the space anymore. But shout out to Wizzy, he lives in Belgium, and he was somebody that really developed teaching me how to build a PC. This is the video you need to watch. These are the parts that are probably the best that you should order. And he pretty much walked my hand virtually through the process of, hey, if you have the money, I'll sit down with you for 30 minutes and we'll go through it. And we did, and I got all the parts. I did all the shipping and stuff. He showed me a video, and then I was building my PC, and I was all the way good up until it come to all the little plugins and stuff, and my motherboard didn't have any description on the motherboard at all of what went to what, like no, yeah. And so I had to I had my iPhone, it was like an iPhone 6, and I was like showing him like inside the PC, and he was like looking like this, like trying to see inside the PC so he could see what connects into what. And he'll probably, I don't know if he'll ever see this or not, but if he does, shout out to Wizzy. He's a great guy, and he's the reason why I got to build my PC. But anyways, built my PC, gave my fiance my shitty one because she wanted to learn how to play a little bit, and then she really started getting into it. Valorant was her first ever game she really got into. Now she kind of fluctuates. She plays COD, she plays Sims, she still plays Valorant here and there, but kind of like the main games, what everybody plays, she usually dabbles in. But the crappy PC I gave her, we ended up selling for $1,000, and then she has like a little she kind of like babysits some kids and stuff on the side just for a little bit of extra money here and there. And so with that, I threw $400 of my own dollars, and a pre-built was like, I think it was like $1,700. And I told her, I said, if you can cover this rest $300 with your paychecks, then we can do this. And so she did. She dedicated her money to it. She got her own setup and stuff. I helped her get her OBS and all that switched up. She's nowhere near consistent with streaming and stuff. She's still a little bit afraid and stuff like that. And she has some other issues and stuff, but she now games on it pretty much daily, at least for a couple hours, and she has a blast. She screams and rages way more than I do. But it was, like your situation is pretty much the flip-flop of mine. I had mine, gave it to my fiance, built mine, and then helped her upgrade her setup to where she would be more comfortable. So I kind of wanted to share that because you had kind of the same story, just the roles were flip-flopped. But that was pretty cool.
That's super cool. Though, and like your friend helping you, shout out to my friend Shivo. Like he basically told me all the parts to order, and while he was at work, I got text messages on exactly how to put all my pieces together. And so I'd put a part together, and then I'd wait till he wasn't busy, and he could help me do the next step. And it all went super smooth until we went to post, and it went in post. And we couldn't figure it out. He's like, "Are you sure everything's plugged in? Like, do you want to like take everything out and like put everything back in again and just make sure everything is seated properly?" And this is after I went to put the chip on the motherboard and with all those pens. And he's like, "Just be really, really careful. Like, make sure that little like shell doesn't pop off."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wait, but it shows." He's like, No, it's not supposed to pop off." And I'm like, "Fuck, okay." So I shut it, and it like shoots off, and I'm like,
I broke it.
It broke. And he's like, "Oh my God, you're gonna have to go buy like a new motherboard and go do this and this." And like I'm like starting to like panic because I'm like, I need to get this together so I can like stream, because my other PC was just acting up with me on my games. And finally he tells me, he's like, "No, it's supposed to do that." I was so bad. But like it was something to like laugh about while I had been building this whole thing and everything had been so serious. But it didn't post because I had 4 sticks of DDR5 RAM.
Gotcha.
Which we eventually found out that it can't run unless you adjust settings. So we had to take 2 out and then do everything else. And like everything was seated perfectly. I have so much OCD. I was like, I know everything is actually like plugged in.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun to build.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I could definitely understand how scary that is because, at that point, until it actually runs, you're just sitting there, look at money you wasted. Like until it runs, like all of it's pointless. And so I definitely understand that being very annoying and very scary. And it makes me think of like, which these videos are on purpose, but it makes me think of these TikToks that I watch where people's like building a motherboard and they're trying to snap the RAM in place and they just grab a fucking hammer and like try to just snap it in.
Because everything feels like it's gonna break, but like it can actually handle you pushing on it. It's okay, and you need it to like snap.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I'm good now. I can like I think if I built another one, it would be so much faster and so much easier. I think I
Yeah, no,
spent 16 hours on this. So
I'm definitely the same
yeah,
way. Mine was, I think, a total of 6 hours to build, and I think if I were to build my same exact one, it'd probably be like 2 or 3.
yeah, I feel
But
like doing like 4 or 5.
yeah, I mean, you definitely get faster as you go, but that first experience is just an experience that you just, again, using that same term, can't put a price on. Like, it's scary, but
No,
it's also like some of the most fun you've ever had, because you, like, regardless whether you blow up on this gaming space or do well or whatever, like, you decided to do that for yourself, and because you orchestrated all that, this is what you made out of that. And it's just kind of like, that's like the cool factor that a lot of people don't really think about, is like, yeah, like, you blew up and you did well and your videos are doing well, but like, if you didn't have the money or decide to do that, or even get out of your comfort zone per se to build your own, your PC could have not even handled that game. It could have crashed your stream. It could be anything. It could be 10 billion different things. I mean, PCs are very complicated.
and
So
sensitive.
yeah, I definitely have huge respect to people that build their own PCs, because, like I said, it's just kind of like a car. There's basic understanding you need to have when you're using something every day, and it's helping you far, far, far more than hurting you.
Yep. Yep. No, and it makes you grow. And then you have like this thing that you built. It's like a baby, and it's yeah,
Yeah,
you
and you get to
appreciate it
watch it
so much
grow.
more. Yep, yep, yep. And then you know how to upgrade it too. So like I
Yeah,
didn't really know how to upgrade that one, and I upgraded it once because my drive crashed on me. And then when I gave it to him, I put a new graphics card in it, and
yeah,
it was super easy, which was super cool. But it's really cool to have that ability and feel yeah. I'm
yeah.
I'm more of a nerd. I leveled up because of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree for sure. So we've now talked about, I think, one more question I want to ask before I forget it, on that topic of getting your new gaming PC and stuff. Obviously, you can play at better settings and you can play better games now. Something that's very interesting to me, which you never really specifically said if you played on any consoles or whatever like that, but a big misconception with a lot of console gamers is that Steam requires money to play and there's not a lot of free games that you have access to. So how does it feel not only having to pay a subscription for games, but being diversified into hundreds of free games that you can now play whenever you want?
It's really, really nice. Like I've always subscribed to MMOs because I love MMOs. So I'm very, very used to that. But it is really cool. Like last fall, whenever we were in the top 50 and we had to collab together, like somebody suggested, and top 50 of respawn, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody suggested some like racing games on Steam, and like they were all free. We ran into one little hiccup where like you had to actually play for X amount of time to unlock
Yeah.
multiplayer. So we couldn't do that right away, but we got to play this other game and it was so cute and so fun and the sounds were great. And like there's just so many great free games on Steam. And like I don't know that I'll ever know everything that's there, but then like you talk to people and like, oh, have you tried this? Or even having like there's games out there that are like $2 to $5.
Yeah.
Like those are super easy to get to, and it's really nice. And I do play on consoles. But like, man, console games have become so expensive. It's insane. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is really nice to have access to Steam. I have a love-hate relationship with Steam. We don't
Yeah.
get along, but I appreciate everything that is there.
Yeah, definitely. Especially on that topic of games being expensive, I think you can probably relate to this than most people. I do want to dabble in a little bit of Respawn and a couple of things I want to talk about. Specifically, I don't want to talk about this yet, just kind of using it as an example. When you and Party had met up and played Super Mario Party, when you did your collaboration with him, something I want to talk about, Nintendo games have not went down in price like at all. Like you can
Mm-mm.
barely find any
Uh-uh.
game under $20. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Yep. I think the last Nintendo game I bought was $80. Like they were like 60 and then all of a sudden they're 80 and it's like, holy crap. Like I still haven't bought the second Zelda game.
Yeah. No,
Just
I
because like I
agree.
know I'm gonna spend a ton of time on it, but I just don't want to spend the money on it yet. I'm not ready to put the time in it. So
Yeah.
no money.
Yeah, it definitely stinks. And I think which like GameStop has definitely went far downhill, ever since all this new generation stuff. That it seems like every single year they get lower and lower and their prices go up and they're not doing well and they're still hiring people at $8 an hour and stuff. So that definitely stinks. But the one thing that I do like a little bit about GameStop, and it's not much, but if you subscribe to them yearly, every single month you'll get like a $5 off coupon, which
Nice.
hypothetically sounds dumb, but I think it's only like $15 for it. So it's like it's not really a win, but it does help like a
It
little
kind of
bit.
is.
And so I'll always go to GameStop for my games, but if I like old me, like new me now, like I just play a bunch of PC and digital games and stuff, but like old me, I would usually take my Nissan Altima and we would go to like flea markets and I would just try to find people selling games for $5-6 or whatever, because I could not, especially like little kid me that was making like $200 a week, like there's no way I could afford some of these games, like it'd be
No.
ridiculous.
Oh my god, I never thought about flea markets. I was collecting Beanie Babies and charms on my bracelet when we were going to flea markets, but holy crap, to go as like a nerd to go back, I bet there's some really cool finds you could still find even now if you
Oh
can
yeah,
find a
no,
flea
no.
market.
There definitely is. There's one that's about 20 minutes away from where I live, and I usually, so I actually, for me specifically, so I've talked a lot about how I work 6 days in a row, and it's this conversation is completely opposite and very awkward because we're actually, my company that I work for is actually about to stop. We're about to stop working on weekends and just 5 days in a row. And so during the summertime on the weekends, I actually usually go to flea markets and I resell things to try to just make some extra money and stuff. So being in that environment, there's definitely, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all, but there's a lot of older people that are selling,
Yeah.
their consoles and their games and stuff, and there's some really, really great deals you can find. And I literally kid you not, because where I resell things, I'll usually flip like Xbox and PlayStation 4 games for like $5 a piece. And there was this guy that I met last weekend, and he had like a whole like 10 copies of PlayStation 4 Fallout 76, and he was asking $1 for each of them. And I just grabbed them all, and I was
That's
like,
funny.
"Thank you." So
Yep.
it's just like little things like that is just insane, and you never know what you're going to find. And actually, oddly enough, I just now thought at that same table, I bought 2 DSIs, and he wanted $5 for them, and one of them didn't work, and the other one did, and I flipped it actually just a couple hours ago for me and you were talking, and I sold it for $20, so I made
Nice.
$15 back on it. So it's just like little things like that. It's
Yep.
just like it's like a tiny cheat code at like being able to get more and more out of it, and I think that's definitely um as a gamer, I always, like, as a kid growing up, I wanted to work at like GameStop and all that stuff because I loved gaming, not like the nerdy aspect of like, oh, you work at GameStop, it's like it
Yeah.
sucks that that's like the stigma, but I wanted to,
No.
but they don't pay for nothing, and so it's kind of cool to be able to be a reseller in online sales and flea market and stuff, because I kind of get to have that same experience, because I'll have a lot of people asking me like, oh, does this work? Have you played this game before? What is it? What does it do? And it's cool to just have those conversations because you have that background.
Yeah, no, and again, it's nostalgia, and I'm sure it brings up memories too to like see those things or have those experiences at the flea market. And each person or item you interact with is very different.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's cool. Now I want to go to flea markets.
Definitely. So we've talked a lot about gaming, and kind of we've went through the whole history and everything. So take me into streaming. I know you roughly talked about how you got into streaming and you just eventually got it because your raids and you streamed it for the VODs and stuff, but how did you actually get into streaming?
Um, I honestly like because of doing that, I eventually decided like I wanted to get a camera and stream and make extra money on the side as like a side job,
Hmm.
basically. And like I didn't realize how hard it was to do that before, and like I realized that it would be really hard to build. But as far as like I was like, oh, like if I build and it takes off, like I'll probably make money. But you learn a lot along the way. Um, and it was really cool. Like it was hard to get a camera. I got like, oh my god, I use as my doggy camera now, but it's just like it's an off-brand thing that I paid like $30 or $40 for on Amazon. It's the only one I could find during COVID. And I was out of work for 2 months in COVID, and so like I'm a hairstylist. I can't go into work during COVID.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find other ways to make money, even though like I was on unemployment. It was great. It helped out a lot. It paid the bills and then some. And I'm super grateful for that. But it definitely pushed me to, I was like maybe I can turn my camera on. Like I am a girl. Like it seems like it is easier for girls to build. I don't want to
Hmm.
like put that stigma out there, but like when you're first starting and you're trying to get that confidence, that's definitely one of those things. Like, okay, I'm a girl. I got one step up on
Right.
guys, so I should be able to at least dip my feet in and start. Um, and so it was a lot of fun to do that. I was super shy. I barely talked. I gamed with friends. And like between like playing Final Fantasy 14 or playing like Stardew Valley, but I would just talk to my friends and I didn't have anybody in chat and it was just them in my in my channel, until at some point like I had a friend that like was really, really pushing me and wanted to help um pushed me to get affiliate on Twitch. And like, oh God, their algorithm or however they decided is very weird to understand while you're trying to figure that out. But I had like a PvP event. I had like 39 viewers. And then after that, like it was like, oh, I'm like 2 out of 3 for affiliate. And that's when my friend's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Like, let's do this. And so he helped rally a bunch of people and help me kind of set times to stream so that there could be a lot of people and I could get that. And I think that was that first big milestone that made me feel like, oh shit, this can turn into something. And I had friends that were subbing to my channel, but it was like 1 or 2 people that just like, oh, I love that you're doing this. I'm going to support you, and this is how I can do it. Which was really cool and really encouraging. But yeah, getting affiliate was super, super big. And like then my like Final Fantasy 14 community kind of blew up on me a little bit. I created an FC so that I had a safe place as well as other people had a safe place, and then we merged into a larger one. And I eventually became leader of that larger one. And I had really great experiences. I had really great friends, and I still have friends from that. But at some point, it wasn't the same. So I stepped down in November at some point after the pandemic, and I kind of stopped streaming then. Like I'd stream raid nights, but I didn't really like hang out with friends because it was kind of awkward. I wasn't ready to continue to be friends with all those people because of things that had happened. Large communities, there's just always drama. Things happen. And then eventually somebody told me about Kick, and that's where it really started to take off.
Yeah.
I'm super grateful. I had people tell me not to do it, tell me that it was the wild, wild west and it wasn't safe. But I hadn't had any experiences. I hadn't had any trolls. I hadn't had any weird guys. And I was like, like, what do I have to lose? I don't have much on Twitch. So I took that leap on Kick, and then everything blew up. And again, here I am.
Yeah.
Playing my games and making some money off of that and having partners, like companies that I'm partnered with now. And I'm pushing for partner with other companies. And so it's taken me on a wild ride, but it's been really, really fun, and I'm super proud of it. So
yeah, definitely. No, and I'm proud of you for sure. I mean, you've had a lot of accomplishments and stuff, and that's definitely the hardest part of any creator story is your downfall and times where you have just a big question mark. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't feel like it anymore. You don't have the motivation or whatever, and it's obviously it's those times that develop your mindset of how you push forward. And of course, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I kind of had that same thing, you know, and I'm open about it. I've been on Twitter and stuff, and I've talked about it last year around trying to think, it was around like July, like June, July. I had a huge downfall with my employer, and I was having a lot of issues finding jobs. And for like 2 to 3 months, I was unemployed, and I had my mortgage and my car payments and just all this other stuff, and it all started piling up, and I had to take a break from streaming. I was trying to do like little tiny side jobs and stuff, and it ended up me being the most vulnerable I've ever been, and I actually had to go on and ask people for money, which was the hardest thing to do. I didn't like doing it, but I had nowhere to turn because my mom and dad, they come from a poor end family, my fiance's family. I don't want to burden them, you know, and so I had nowhere else to turn, and the obvious stigma was, you know, go get a job, go work and stuff. And I was just sitting there like, you know, trying to be the man of the household, and I was at my lowest. You know, I couldn't find nobody. There was nobody was hiring and stuff. And thankfully, about probably 7 or 8 different people all donated and helped me pretty much save my mortgage from like a couple of days before it was late, and got all that paid off and stuff, and put me in a different mindset of, okay, you know, the world's not ending. My payments are caught up. You know, I'm not now in the process of losing my house. And so then thankfully I got, you know, another employer and started working, and everything eventually started smoothing out. But because of that downfall, obviously, my name is Feeds. I'm very heavily known as being a great sniper. Specifically, recently, mainly my ranked sniping. Which now is kind of irrelevant because they took snipers out of ranked, fucking dicks. But before that, I was very, very known, especially in MW2, about playing ranked sniping. And I got all the way to Diamond 3. I would snipe against these kids and stuff, and it was just a great time. I was hitting 5-ons and 6-ons and quad feeds and stuff. It was a great time. It was cool. And all my life, that's really what I've been known for. But I always knew where my heart was at the end of the day. Just like I said before this, you know, I really pride myself in being someone truly positive and someone you can talk to where you know that no bullshit's going to come out a week or two later and me being a weirdo or some scam or scandal or something. I'd like, there's a lot of people on the internet you don't fully know the story behind them. So I try to take pride in letting you fully know any of my downfalls up front, because I want you to be comfortable with me now, not 5-6 months from later when I'm still going to be that exact same person. That's just like how I am in my philosophy. And so I knew when I had my downfall, I knew that sniping wasn't enough, and sniping was just something I wasn't enjoying anymore because I couldn't be me. My clips had no personality. There was nothing about it. It was just cool clips, and I was skilled at the game, and I did that for 4 or 5 years. I arguably was one of the best Black Ops 4 snipers when Black Ops 4 came out, and it was cool. I got a lot of views and I got a lot of eyes, but it got me nowheres. Got me nowheres financially, got me nowheres career-wise. I had just a couple more connections, a lot more followers, and that's that. And that's cool, and I'm grateful for it, but it didn't get me to my goals that I wanted to be. And as a creator and as a person, I did not feel like all of that success was me. It was just my clips, and because I can shoot straight. And so when that downfall happened, I decided to do my podcast, which of course we're on right now. And in August, I started that up. And in the whole month of August, I did, I think 22 or 23 episodes for the whole month. There was weeks that I did 3 or 4. There was days where I did back to back. There was a podcast I literally ended, took 5 minutes and started up another podcast with another person, and that was my focus. I was tired of sniping. I was tired of all these things. Started my podcast, got really out of my comfort zone. Started off with my close friends that I'd known for a while. Started branching out to people that I didn't know. Ultimately, getting up to this today. Talking to. Obviously, of course, we have Respawn in common, but aside from Respawn, we don't know each other at all. And it took me a lot to get to this step, to be here, and it was hard. It's not hard now, clearly. Like, I'm very comfortable and stuff, but the journey and the path it took me to get here was very rough, and I'm always grateful for it. I'm always thankful for those that have supported me and stuff. But now, fast forward, I did my podcast, and now I have 2 more YouTube channels. I have a reaction channel for beatboxing. That's just something that I'm into, and then I have another one for my gaming channel, just for some small stuff. And I have not ever in my whole career got this much love, this much feedback, this many DMs and stuff. It is just completely flipped from what I knew from old feeds. And so for me, that was my journey, my downfall. Of course, just like everybody, you have to flip it to a positive, and that's where I started my podcast. And if I did not decide to take that leap, I definitely would not be here today, but I don't think I would be near as successful. And just like I told you before we started this, my podcast is one of the main reasons why I wanted to be a part of this Recruits Invitationals. And so even if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here. So that's definitely my side of my story, and it's just little things like that. Like, you have your downfall, and there's a lot of things going on, and you always need to prioritize your mental health for sure. But if you have an objective of getting back into this space, whatever you was doing was not working before, and if you're happy with whatever's going on, then all power to you. You deserve to be happy, and you want to do what you want to do. But with my situation, I realized I had fun, but I wasn't happy. And I think there's a big distinctive difference between having fun and being happy. And so I started realizing that I wasn't getting the fulfillment that I wanted. I just got the enjoyment when the big moments happened. So then when all that happened, I decided to take a step back, watch some things. I watched a ton of podcasts, watched a ton of advice and tips and editing and all this stuff, and then eventually got to where I am today. And I think that's definitely the biggest important role that I would always give advice to any creators, is that you have to look back at your old situation and realize what new situation you can build and how you can be happier than what you did before.
And I think that there's also like this stigma around like streaming, and like you got to play the newest game, you got to like play FPS games, you got to play Call of Duty, you got to play Fortnite because that's what people want to watch. And like it took me a little while to realize, like listening to your story, it sounded like you had kind of like that same realization that like, okay, that's cool, like I can get these cool clips and like people can watch this, but like I'm not going to have any sustainability out of that, or I'm not going to have any longevity out of that, because I'm just going to be this sniper, or I'm just going to do this one thing. And I don't know, I've discovered streaming on Kick that people aren't just there for the games.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's not how you build a community, like you can't just sit and play Call of Duty all day long and necessarily have the best community. that you build and that supports you and follows you and does all these things with you. Like I realize that people are here for like your vibe and to hang out with you and like, oh cool, like you're watching a game, like it's really entertaining to watch a game, but it's also like I want to come hang out with you. And once I realized that, like that definitely was a really big step in like confidence and realizing I didn't have to be like all the other like FPS shooters. Like I can be
Yeah.
myself and I can have fun and just hang out with people and talk to people. So yeah, I think that stigma is slowly going away and like doing things like this, like us and
Hmm.
like Respawn, like we're changing that narrative.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with people about that before, and I've been surprised when people are like, oh no, like I come and watch you because of your game. And I'm like, why do you stay?
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
And then it kind of like, oh, like I don't stay and continue to watch you. I continue to talk to you. And like, okay, so it's a vibe. It's a vibe thing. And
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's
It's
just
really cool.
it's the same thing, just like I said with my past, like being on Black Ops 4, I was very, very known as one of the top snipers, and then being on Modern Warfare 2 and in the competitive sniper scene, I was like a part of tournaments, but I wasn't really known. I was more for like the actual ranked play and sniping against people that was just playing the ranked play system. And a lot of people would stay and they would watch and they would love it. And then the moment that the game was over or I took a break or whatever, they'd all leave. And so it, slowly, at that point I was on a high because I was like, oh, I'm really good at this. Like I'm doing great. And it took me a while to realize, and that's a humanly thing. There's nothing, of course, wrong with that at all, and if you have fun at the time doesn't mean you need to stop having fun. But eventually there's going to be a point where you reflect to understand again if you're happy or not. And I think that's kind of the more important thing to kind of just have an aspect of that on. So I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. And the other thing I was trying to think of what I was trying to say. The other thing too that I'd kind of mention is which I didn't really mention it directly, but I don't stream barely anymore. I do have a charity stream coming up that I'm planning on, and I stream maybe once or twice a week. But I've dialed a lot back to my YouTube channels. I do 1 or 2 podcasts a week. My reactions, I do 3 or 4, and my gaming channel, I just post every now and then. And it's from an outside view, it may sound a little bit inconsistent, but for me, that's kind of where I got. Streaming for me wasn't that fun anymore because I don't want people to just be there for the games and stuff. And it's hard for me to interpret how I can stream and keep them engaged while not gaming because that's what I'm used to. So that's why I started doing YouTube, because now I don't have to build an online audience where they expect something out of me in a few hours. And again, this is not a dig to anybody at all or anything like that. This is just my personal circumstances and takes. And so that's what I did. Is I was tired of trying to build an online community, and I was trying to be something that I wasn't, and I'm not comfortable with that. A big thing about me is I don't like being fake. I don't like even reactions. I don't like reacting to stuff I've already watched. I don't like saying things that I don't. I'm honest and I'm upfront. And so that was another big thing, is I dialed back streaming super, super heavy, and now getting into YouTube content and shorts and stuff and offline posting is now what my passion and motivation is for, because now not only can I do it at any time, but I know that eventually it'll work out, like algorithms and all that, it'll happen when it happens. But I am now fully comfortable with everything that I put out, and I now have the direction, like, because when you're streaming, you can obviously determine if it's a good stream or not, but anything can happen during that stream. And when you're creating content, you're the only one that can decide anything. Nothing else can happen when you're creating content. You decide when the video goes, what time it uploads. Nothing else can happen. No hate stuff. No, like, you have full advantage of that situation. And to me, that's just what I like. I don't like getting hit with these, random messages or hate raids or anything else, especially all that crap that went on last year with Twitch and all the hate raids and all that kind of stuff. And I just was able to get away from that. So even if it happens again, I'm not a part of it. And that's just, like I said, that's just my thing. And again, that's no dig at all to anybody. That's just my perspective, and I just like being able to create content now, offline rather than online.
Yeah, kind of just like life is what you make, and that's like we both have like 2 very different journeys, and we all have very different journeys along the way, and it's got to fit your what you want and what you want to be and how you want to be perceived, or like you said, like you want to be yourself, and I that is something I have learned through my content journey, is like it's okay to be myself, and like I can be this genuine kind human being, and I don't have to be somebody different here. But that journey or that perspective might look very different from other people, and that's okay. Everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah, Definitely. So one of the last questions I wanted to ask before we kind of get into a little bit of advice and stuff is I always like to ask everybody how you got your name. Obviously, your name is BadWolfRose. Is there a story behind it and why?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to like my name before that. Oops,
Sure.
sorry. Stupid thing. Uh, I was called Raftalia from an anime that I loved, and that was my name in Final Fantasy, and that was my name before I really started creating content. And then I joined like a weird FC, and I became Raftalia Synthesis like 11. Again, all based around anime things, but it was just like a weird experience. And once some weird things happened with that community, and I really saw what people were really made out of and what their real objectives were with new people coming in. I left and I switched servers and I changed my name. It took me forever to come up with BadWolfRose because I was like, I really want to have something around Doctor Who. Doctor Who is something big in my life.
Why is that?
And it helped me get through a lot of things. And something when I first met my husband that he showed me the Vincent Van Gogh episode with Matt Smith. And if you've never watched Doctor Who, I think it's a good place to be like, here, see if you like this. If you like that, then go back and start at 9 when they rebooted it. And so I watched all of Matt Smith with my husband, and like it's just like this super emotional journey, and it's a story that I absolutely love, and I was never a princess girl growing up. Like I don't. Those love stories are very weird to me and like very cookie cutter, in my opinion, and in my life. And so the love story that I experienced watching the Matt Smith version of Doctor Who, really sucked me in, and it was like my like dream nerdy fairy tale. And so I really started watching that. And so I wanted to make my name around that, but I couldn't. Most of the names that I wanted, I couldn't use because they were already taken, of course. And so I ended up with BadWolfRose. It was kind of a weird thing to put because you have a first name and a surname in Final Fantasy. And so my first name is Badwolf, and then my last name is Rose. And it just kind of stuck, and people didn't know what to call me. So some people call me Bad, some people call me Wolfie, and some people call me Rose. At this point in time, most of the time when people ask, I just tell them like, "Hey, you can just call me Rose." I think it's easy. I think it suits me. And I think it's okay. I don't care if people call me Bad or Wolf or Wolfie. I think it's really funny, and there's some really cool jokes that surround that. But Rose was a companion of the Doctor, and she eventually does something with the TARDIS, and she turns into the Bad Wolf, and she is everywhere. And the Bad Wolf isn't this terrible thing, although as kids, that's what we are taught, you know. But her story is really, really cool, and I'm not even going to explain any more than
Right.
that because if you're curious, just go watch it
Definitely.
because it's really cool to experience.
Yeah, well, that's sick. That's cool. I'm glad that it has a little background story behind it, and that's kind of what I tell a lot of people when I ask these questions and stuff. Because, like, at the end of the day, of course, obviously, it really doesn't matter because we're all doing the same thing and stuff like that. But, like, to me personally, I like understanding the backstory of how you, because obviously we're creating a persona because nobody's going to put their government name out there, of course, and so we're all creating this kind of persona, and we develop these names that are behind our actual in real life characters. And so that's what's always unique to me is how you came up with that and stuff. Because I think, and I've said this a bunch of times, that even somebody just like Bams, like Bams hit 1 million on YouTube and he popped off and did everything. And like a lot of people, of course, I'm proud of him and stuff, and it was insane. But stories like that, I love knowing how Bams got his name. And like, obviously I'm interested in his journey and stuff, but knowing his, I can't think of the word, but the story behind the name is a lot more important to me. And I, like, me personally, I look at things like that, and I like being able to interpret that because I get to kind of see you building your future before your future even starts. And that's why I like asking that. Again, like I said, it doesn't really matter if you don't have a meaning to your name, but that's definitely some advice I give to creators is if you're brand new to this scene and you're starting out just like everybody else did, I definitely think you should have some type of name that has some type of meaning. So that way, when you do blow up, it means a lot more.
Yep. Yeah. And also, like, that was another thing that I thought about. I was like, what are people going to call me? Like, what are their options? And like, I wanted it to mean something to me, but I also wanted it to be easy to have a cool nickname.
Yeah.
Or something simple for people to call me. And yeah, it's definitely really cool to see my name places now.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that name. Like, I think I would have been a little disappointed if I was still Raftalia
Yeah.
because it wasn't my own.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I agree. It's a happy medium. And just like you said, you've already been sponsored and partnered by some companies, and you get to see them promote you. And wrap around this persona that you've built. And same thing with with Respawn and stuff. And that's kind of one small thing I did want to bring up just a little bit before I ask kind of advice and tips for creators. I wanted to talk about something very specific that you've talked about a lot during your Respawn journey, and that's been talked about a lot. So for anybody that doesn't know, Respawn Products is mainly a chair company that is hosting this invitationals that me and BadWolfRose are a part of. And they're actually, very oddly enough, the final decision is made tomorrow. The reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because something very cool and very unique about 2 weeks ago happened, to where one of the partners that was initially a recruit trying to be the same thing that we're a part of actually made partner because of his journey when he was in the hospital with really bad health issues and stuff, and still continued to pursue his dream amongst all the downfalls of his personal life situation. And on top of that, from my understanding, I don't want to take words out of his mouth, but he said that he didn't really have anybody there for him, and it was an emotional time for him, of course, being in the hospital. And out of everybody that could have came and meet him, it was you. And you had went and met him, and it's, of course, obviously he has his own success, but specifically you guys did a collaboration of Super Mario Party. And A, if you didn't decide to go, and B, if you didn't decide to bring your Switch, that content or that post would have never happened. So kind of, of course, I don't want to know personal details, but kind of take me through how you even decided to connect with him and just meet up to him to say hi, to then leading on and making a collaboration, which pretty much, I would definitely say for that day, shocked the scene. Because, and I told you this before, if there was a definition of comfort zone, that situation was definitely it. So kind of take me through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, it definitely was. Can you give me just 1 second? My husband
Yeah.
just opened my door,
Good.
and I figured if I tell you, give me just 1 second.
You're fine.
I can check on him, and I'll be right back. That way, it's not too bad.
You're fine. No, it's fine. But yeah, just for anybody listening, Respawn Recruits is something that happens every year, and they've done this invitational that is the first one ever. And thankfully, I am so honored to be a part of it. It happened at the beginning of March, and it is a month-long competition that we was able to partake in. And again, I'm just fully honored, and it is crazy. It is barely any amount of time. There's 110 creators that are all fighting for the same thing, and me and BadWolfRose has made top 30. We have made it through, I think, 3 different cuts, I think, because there's 110, 75, 50, and now 30. So technically 4 if you want to count the initial who made the top 110. So technically 4. But yeah, it is just been a wild ride, and to be able to be a part of it. But now she's back. Welcome back.
I'm so sorry. We're gonna get food after this. So
No, that's okay. I'll rephrase it real quick because I know you're busy. So just kind of take me through that backstory of how not only you guys decided to meet up, but then the content that happened after the fact. How did that all play out?
So Partysaurus Rex and I live close to each other, and we've been trying to get together since last fall, whenever we did the recruits then. And it just hasn't worked out, and we were going to do the hot sauce stuff, and it just didn't work out. And I saw that he had posted that he was in the hospital and had to have surgery, and he wasn't really sure, things. And at some point, he eventually posted an update and shared where he was. He's probably about an hour and a half or 2 hours away from me, so trying to collab with him would take some planning. And whenever you posted what hospital he was in, I was like, you're 20 minutes away from me, dude. And I know it sucks being in there. And I hadn't even realized that nobody had come to visit him or wasn't there at the time. I was just like, hey, dude, is there anything that you need? Do you need deodorant? Do you need food? Is there anything I can bring you to help you? And so he told me a few things that he needed, deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, so he could feel a little cleaner. And by the time I was able to actually go see him, he had had his final surgery, and so he could have some food. So I was able to bring him some food. It
was good timing.
Yeah, and I grew up with a mother that always took care of other people and would always basically take the shirt off of her back to give to anybody, and so I grew up knowing or learning that and whenever I heard about him being there, I was just like, I need to do this. I need to go take him something. So I took him that stuff, but I got him a plushie and I got him a coloring book because I would want something, like that if I was stuck there by myself. But I didn't even ask him about bringing the Switch. I was just like, you know what? I'm a gamer. I take this thing with me everywhere, anyways. And he's a gamer too, and he's stuck in a bed. And at least like he could probably sit up enough where we could play this, and he wouldn't have to move or anything like that. And I would hope that it would at least put a smile on his face and make him forget about some things for a little while. Um, and so it was really cool to go hang out with him and get to spend some time with him and actually get to know him. It was the first time I got to actually meet him in person.
Yeah.
Not the best of circumstances, but I'm glad that we had that time to
Yeah,
spend
it's a
together.
cool story.
Yeah, and honestly, we sat and talked. Like I was like, I'm gonna be gone for like an hour. We sat and talked for an hour, and we talked about Respawn and our experiences and where we live and stuff like that. And then at some point, I was just like, "Do you want to play? Like, do you feel like playing?" And he's like, "Yeah, you brought it. Like, let's play." And it was just really funny while we were setting up. He was like, "Can we get selfies and like take pictures and stuff?" And then we both kind of looked at each other. I was like, "Can we record this? Like, can we turn this into something?" He's like, "I'm gonna ask Tyler." For those that don't know, Tyler is the chair that leads all of these things, and is awesome human. But he never really responded to us. I was like, "Yeah, like screw it. Like let's just like play, have fun, and whatever we can make out of this, like let's do it." So we agreed to record, and it was just a blast. I think we played for like an hour, hour and a half together until we finished it, and he won. I need a rematch.
Yeah.
But it was just something so unplanned. But when you have two people that like to play games and have fun together, and he was in a really good place after his surgery. Like he felt a lot better, and so he was able to smile and laugh and have fun. It just all worked out. And I'm so happy and proud of him. Like I know he worked really hard last fall, and he was working really hard and has a lot of things that just got thrown at him with life. And he definitely deserves it. I was so happy to see that they did that. He really needed a win, and not that like they didn't just hand it to him. He worked for it. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of him.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's definitely a sick story, and he is for sure somebody I want to have on my podcast and hear his side and stuff. But obviously, I don't want to talk about it too much because I'd love to save that for him because a lot of that was about him. But just to be able to sit there in your bed and have, I hate having to phrase it this way, but this is the way you said it, having nobody there for him and stuff, and nothing to do and nothing to play. From my perspective, my understanding would be he's in pain. He's on his phone. He's scrolling through, watching all these other people make content and do Respawn, and he's just sitting there thinking, I can't do anything. So the uniqueness of that situation and everything that had transpired, and then the unfortunate stuff with some of his personal stuff and some things that had happened to him, and then leading up to being able to make partner and have that awesome moment while he's playing Rock Band with Titan, and they're just having a great time. It's a story that you can never forget, and it's a story that defines who you are as a creator, and really definitely in my personal opinion sets the tone for Respawn. Respawn is of course a company I've always talked highly about. I've never really specifically wanted to be a part of them. I've just known that they were a chair company for a long time, and I've said the story too, and I even said it in your Quick Tips. Shout out to Rose. She actually has a thing called Quick Tips for creators. Go check that out. But I said that in her Quick Tips when she had me on is Frosty, which is one of my really good longtime friends. Me and Frosty had got to know each other about 3 years ago when we both went for a Obey Alliance recruitment challenge that we both lost. And he was a graphics designer, I was a sniper, and eventually we just kind of connected and talked here and there and did some things, and that just kind of transpired a big friendship for years and years. And last year, when the recruits was going on, Frosty was a part of it, trying to be a partner, and he eventually ended up making it after some things that went down. And because of all that happened, I was able to, I don't want to use the term use him because that sounds wrong, but I was able to be with him and him help guide me to solid creators that I wanted to be around, and that had solid mindsets and people that I feel like are like me, and was able to have a lot of those members on Vixen, Colpios, Mama Lumi. I can't think of all the rest, but I had a bunch of people on my podcast because of that, and that's what opened my eyes up about Respawn, and that's what made me have a feeling in my gut of like, this is something I should do, because regardless whether it works out or not, I need more people to talk to. I need more stories to hear. And this is the best way that I could take advantage in a positive way of that situation. And because of Frosty and allowing me to, help me get connections with these people that didn't really know me, and, fast forward, 4 or 5 months later, I now have tons of connections. I have tons of friends. And now, of course, me and you are both a part of Invitationals, and that's kind of my backstory with Invitationals, how I got it, and it just allowed me to not only become a better me, but help make a change that I try to be every day.
No, and they're doing that same thing. They're trying to make a change too, and that's I didn't realize it at first when I signed up for recruits last summer, and then I got pulled back in, and I was like, "Wait, what is this? What is this community? Like, holy crap!" Um, and it was really really cool to have that experience and realize that there's still some really awesome supporting communities that are trying to change that narrative out there. And like, I don't know, Frosty, man, Frosty's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
It was really cool
definitely.
to go through that with him. He's given me some nudges. Just to like give me these little motivational nudges, and like I appreciate him so much. He's a good human.
Yeah. 100%. But yeah, like on that topic of the hospital stay where you had greeted party and stuff, of course, obviously full accomplishments to him and everything that he's done, and I'm glad that all worked out for him. But of course, I don't want to give you credit for him being partnered and everything, but you definitely deserve a little bit of credibility, because again, like I said, if you didn't decide to go there for him and you didn't decide to bring your Switch, that definitely wouldn't have sparked anything. And so that just, I'm not saying the outcome would have changed, but that just helped the story a lot, just because you decided to do that. So I'm sure you've been kind of told bits and pieces, but from an outside point of view, I do want to say thank you for other people like me that was allowed to watch that and stuff, because if you didn't decide to do that, other people like me wouldn't have been able to get a more connection, not only with you, but with Party in his situation. Because at the end of the day, nobody deserves to be lonely. Everybody deserves to have somebody for them. Everybody deserves to have somebody to talk to. And in that situation, again, I'm not putting his situation down at all, but you is just able to be one of the people to help uplift him and be there for him. And at a human aspect, that's just, there's nothing else you can ask for. I mean, that's the best circumstance you can get out of being in a negative situation, is somebody willing to struggle with it with you. So definitely thank you for that, and I'm sure that meant a ton to him.
Yeah, no, and like because it was such an innocent thing and so it was so unplanned. Like it's crazy to hear things like this. Like I definitely like I couldn't respond to any comments after I went and saw him. Like it was just emotional to like read them and even read his responses. Because it was just I was just being genuine and just being a friend and trying to be there for somebody that needed somebody, because I would want that same thing, and I think too with Respawn, like that's what they want a community that does things like that, like not necessarily like going to the hospital to go
Right.
see somebody, like that's not labeling that, but like they want a supportive community. They want to see people get together and help one another, and it can be anything. But I think that really shows that like we're both just these genuine humans that are trying to make it through this space, and like we want to lift people up along the way.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I definitely didn't mean for things to come across
Yeah.
that way, but it's really
Of
nice to hear the
course.
kind words, and I truly appreciate that because it definitely I don't ever want to be perceived as something different than that, in this space, and it's easy for things to get twisted on the internet.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for those that reached out to me to say those things. I actually, as you were just talking about that, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna sit here and cry because
That's
yeah, it
it's all
means a lot
good.
that people do see that. So
Of course, no, it's a genuine thing. Crying is no problem, and just like I said before, you're setting an example, you're setting the tone for other creators, and the beautiful thing about it is you did it out of act of instinct, not out of population, and not out of what happens, what can I gain, what can I do. They're going to think I'm a cool person, and that's definitely the shitty thing about nowadays. And of course, a lot of people don't want to say it, and I don't like being controversial, but there's a lot of people out there that have misintentions and different objectives in their content creation careers, and people using other people and being fake and stuff. And so it's my point is, it's just a beautiful thing when, of course, somebody like yourself is able to do that, and it allows other creators that are also genuine. I like to feel like myself, being able to watch that and just know that if you is in that same situation, regardless of anything that's happening on the internet and anything you're trying to pursue, you took that time out of your IRL day and set everything aside just to have that moment. And it's just a amount of respect that you instantly gain and can never be taken away.
That's oh man, yeah.
It's okay.
I'm definitely like super grateful for Party in our relationship now too. Like it's oh, I can't wait to actually hang out with him and like do fun things where
Yeah.
he's not stuck in a hospital bed,
Yeah,
and
and you can compete for round 2 for
oh,
the best of
yep,
3 of Super
yep.
Mario Party.
And hopefully in our onesies. That was always our plan, was to hang out in our onesies. So yeah.
That's sick.
No, I'm
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
definitely make sure whenever that happens that you decide to create content out of that too, and hopefully it'll be a bit better quality and a lot more to look at for sure.
Yep.
But
Yep.
like I said, again, I'm going to move past the situation because I'm not trying to make it cry anymore. But just I think that's the last important thing I want to say from that is all you guys had was your Switch and your phones, and I think that is the Actually, I'll go ahead and switch that into one of my questions because it actually is a question that I do ask at the end here while we're wrapping up advice for creators. A lot of creators misinterpret, they don't want to create content, they don't want to stream, they don't want to make videos because they don't feel like they have the proper setup and they don't feel like they have the right utilities or the right tools. And just based off this example, of course, you had both your phones and a Switch and a charger, and that's it. And so take me through giving advice to other creators that don't feel like they're going to make it or they don't feel like they're doing enough because they don't have the tools and the fancy setups and the fancy PCs to make it happen.
Yeah, that's definitely something that when you start those journeys or you're new to streaming or creating content, you definitely feel like, oh, like that's a really cool light, like that's a really cool camera, like look how crisp this picture is, and like, or like how well they can game on certain games because their PC is just so powerful. And it definitely feels like that. And I remember having those conversations. Like sometimes I didn't even want to turn on my camera because like my camera was so shitty, and like I didn't really feel like I had anything to do or play or say. And I don't know, you just us talking about being genuine, like just be yourself and have fun and show yourself having fun. Like people really enjoy seeing that. Like the world is shit right now.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on in the world that we can't control, but like you can make some silly video, and like sometimes I don't even know what to make, and I'll sit here and like I made a silly video the other day that I can't decide between reading a book and playing a video game. Was it the most crisp video? No, but it's something that comes from me. And yeah, you don't need special things. You can literally just use your phone.
Yeah.
Just use your phone, have fun, start creating content, turn it into something. And like, even looking back on like my raid nights with my really crappy camera, like it's so cool to have that content from where you started. And even if you just started with your phone, like to have videos that are so choppy and weird and awful and hard to watch, because you didn't have like this amazing setup, but now you do at some point, and then you look back on all of that. It's really cool to see. And Respawn took us through that journey this time, and I didn't even realize how much stuff I had from the beginning that was just rough, choppy
Yeah.
videos. But
Hmm.
yeah, we all start there. You know, we don't just walk into a room and have all these amazing things to use. Um, and it is hard to have the confidence in it, but it's worth stepping out of your comfort zone and using those things that you do have, and then eventually adding things little by little and getting better and having better quality things. But you don't need all the magic perfect things first.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I started out the same way. I mean, Call of Duty Ghosts, which is my favorite COD of all time, that was one of my first forms of content that I started creating, and I created it off of an app called CuteCut on my iPhone 4, and I would download the videos from my Xbox, I would send it to a Google Drive, I would open Google Drive on my phone, and I would download every individual video, and then I would go into my camera roll and edit it down to size, and then I would go into CuteCut, and then I would make the montage. So
Yeah.
it's an annoying process, but when the
Yeah.
passion's there, it's not an annoying process.
I have a
Um,
confession.
okay.
All of my videos that I've made for Respawn have been on my phone.
That's not a confession at all. That's an accomplishment.
So I like opening programs on my computer. It's just way too big of a space. Like I have ADHD. It feels
Hmm.
like a lot. And like I use CapCut right now. Like I haven't
Yeah.
dived into DaVinci or anything else. And I learned it on my phone. You can open it on your computer, but it's different. The layout's different. Same with Canva. I make stuff on Canva. I only make it from my phone.
Yeah.
Because when you open the web page, like it's really hard to use because it's different and you can't find all the tools that you need. So I literally downloaded all my stuff on the like if I filmed it here, it went onto a Google Drive. I downloaded it on my phone and then I sat and edit like that. The last video for my last submission, it probably took me 20 hours,
Jeez.
maybe a little bit more, but I did it all from my phone. And like I know that I need to get better than that, and like I want to be able to do cool effects and things. And like I've been watching videos on how to do that, but I got to learn it on my computer.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so that's going to be my next big step. But my big confession is I've done everything on my phone.
Well, that's cool. And again, like I said, that's not a bad thing, you know, and that's an accomplishment. And it's a perfect example to the question that I asked about not having the right setup. And just like you said, there's people out there like you that have good setups and have all the tools they need, and they still revert back to their old ways. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you're comfortable with, and that's what you know how to do. And it's hard being able to learn these different programs and stuff.
It takes time.
On that topic, I still want to push you to learn DaVinci or Sony Vegas or whatever, but I will give you a tip because of what you said. If you just connect your phone to your PC, like just off an iPhone charger, you can actually pull up your phone in your settings and you can drag the video to your phone so you don't have to do Google Drive at all. And it'll be
Oh
a
my God.
lot faster for you.
It took 2 hours for my video to upload last night.
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
Thank you.
When you click on your folder and you plug your phone in, it'll actually pop up saying like iPhone or something like that, and you could go to your camera roll and you could actually drop the videos in there.
You
But
just changed my life. Thank you.
anyways, it's no big deal. But anyways, you can use content on anything. And it's all about your objective, and however you get it done is no big deal. And I think again, I'm kind of glad that you shared that example. Is just because there's people that feel bad about not having the correct setup, and you're looking at a lady that has a setup that you're dreaming of, and she's still doing what you can do. So everybody can do it. It's no big deal at all. And it's just like I said, when the passion and motivation's there, then it doesn't become a process.
Yeah, and you show that passion through the videos you make, and then you can make waves.
Definitely.
So.
Definitely. So one of the other couple, I got 2 or 3 more questions before we end off here. That I was going to ask. Of course, this podcast is very heavily about mental health and being there for others and taking breaks when you need. And there's a lot of creators that struggle with making content because they don't feel like they make a lot of friends, or they're just not in a good space and they want to take a break, but they feel like they're going to lose their consistency of how they've been doing. Do you have any advice for creators that A, either just want to take a break and not sure how, or B, just trying to make friends and figure out what community they can be surrounded by?
I think with mental health, like you just gotta realize like it is okay to take breaks. You're not gonna lose anybody important, honestly. I've watched people post on Twitter, and I do the same thing. Like I apologize for not being able to make streams and thank people for understanding. And it's really cool to get messages back that people are like, oh, like we'll be here when you're ready. Take all the time you need. Mental health is important. And it's cool to hear that from people, but then also like it takes a lot to realize that too, because like, you can still sit here and just worry like you're gonna lose everything. But if you lose people or you lose stuff from doing that, then those aren't the people you need to surround yourself with. And I think you just have to get to a point where like that's okay, and you have to be okay with that. And you're gonna gain followers, you're gonna lose followers, and even like through this journey with Respawn, I hit 900 followers on a kick during one of my collab streams, and then like the next morning I was back at like 898,
Mm-hmm.
and like it hit me and it kind of sucked, but then I was like, that's okay. Like they weren't meant to be here for the rest of my journey, and they're not here to support me, so that's okay. And so I try to reflect that onto like my mental health days. I had 2 mental health days where I really didn't post content this week because work was way too stressful. And I did kind of update my community so people weren't curious where I was, and I had mods reach out to me and make sure that I was okay, because they know that if I don't post by a certain time, something's going on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I had to take 2 days this week, and I had to play that game mentally, and it wore on me a lot. but I'm sitting here now and I'm in like a really good headspace, and like I know that like I'll be streaming tonight and it'll feel really great, and I won't feel like I lost anything because I'm back in it and people are still there.
Yeah.
The people that matter, that support me, are truly there. And I think just learning that is a really big piece of advice, because nobody told me that when I started this, you know? And so the first couple times I kept canceled stream, like I just felt awful and I'd just lay in bed in the dark and be miserable, you know? And then I eventually just watched other people kind of go through those things too, and how they handled it and comments that they had. And I was like, okay, even if you don't have friends that are going to comment on that, like just starting that and putting that out there and trying to have a better mindset as you have to pause your content. I think it's really good. I didn't have people commenting the first time I canceled my stream and I announced it, you know, but I've been able to build a good community to surround myself with, where people do check in on me or people do say some really kind things when I'm having a really hard time. And it is really, really nice. But you got to start with yourself, and you got to mentally have a way to handle that and process that. And you learn along the way, but just know that like it's okay to take mental health days. It's okay to not, like go dark on all of your platforms for whatever amount of time you need to, because it's very important to take care of yourself. And you can't do this, you can't be on at all if you are in a bad mindset. So you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, most definitely. And I've said this a lot in some of my past podcasts, but it takes self-discipline, because you're not going to be able to do that right away. And I think that's definitely one of the biggest misconceptions of a lot of people's like, oh, what if I start streaming and it don't work out? And you haven't streamed before, so you don't know how you're going to handle that. But the off point is you're never going to know how to handle that until you're in that situation. And it takes a while. Like for me, I used to stream tons whenever I first started, when I didn't want to. There was times nobody was talking, times that I was just bored, I wasn't having fun, but I just kept streaming because I felt like I have to. And eventually it led up to me having a day where I was just a bad day, or maybe I wanted to stream and 30 minutes later I wasn't feeling it. And eventually I got to the point where I could just look at the camera and say, hey, I'm just not feeling it. Thank you so much for coming by. This is not what I want you to watch. Thank you for coming by, and we'll see you tomorrow. And it takes self-discipline. It takes trial and error to get to that point. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people have to understand is, just like life, you have to fail. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to have perfect streams. There's going to be streams where something's going to happen. You're going to get a text, a call, a message in chat. Something's going to happen where you get uncomfortable, and you're going to have to face that time from, how to handle that while everybody's watching you and stuff. And it's hard. And there's people that has never streamed before because they don't want to be a part of that, and there is nothing wrong with that. But I think that's a big thing, is everybody tries to focus on making the most perfect stream that they can, and it's not a thing. It's not a thing at all. And you have to, it's the harsh reality of saying, of course we hope that nothing happens and we hope you have a good stream, but almost every single streamer has always had something. Even the littlest thing is going to come up, and it depends on you and your situation and your attitude. And if something like that happens and you're super uncomfortable and you want to end right away, nobody is going to be mad at you for that, of course, because it's just something that you have to process. And there's a lot of people that aren't good with processing, drama and stuff. They don't like being a part of that. They can't handle it well. They get awkward. They get emotional and stuff. So it's okay to step back away from those things. You don't have to worry about how uncomfortable you're going to make people feel. You have to be comfortable first.
Yep. Yeah. No, and if like people do get upset, again, they're not somebody you need in your life while you stream. Like that's not what you want, And yeah, things are gonna happen. I don't think I have ever sat down and had everything turn on properly or everything set up just right, or started. I try really hard to start on time, but there's always some little silly little hiccup. And yeah, you just gotta go with the flow and try to stay positive as much as you can. And like you said, if you can't and you're uncomfortable, then it's okay. You can turn everything off and start again the next day.
Yep, definitely, for sure. One of the last questions that I wanted to ask, it's always hard for me to phrase this, for the women gaming community. I try to figure out the best way to say this, because of course it is perceived in a lot of different ways, but you guys definitely deserve a lot more than what you get. And there's a lot of wonderful ladies out there that could be big or could be doing better or whatever, but they're afraid because of the stigma and they're afraid to go live because they're afraid or they're uncomfortable and stuff. Being a fellow woman gamer in this woman gaming industry, for other ladies out there that are struggling with streaming or making friends or anything, is there any advice you could think of that would help them, help their journeys to be able to want to stream more or, get out of that phase of not clicking stream or not posting content?
Yeah, I think like I guess I can share like kind of what how I process that. Like before I streamed on Kick, I I kind of sat down and thought through like my branding and how I want people to perceive me and what I want to show the world through my stream when I turn my camera on. There's a lot of successful women out there that are sexualized and put themselves out there in that way. And if that works for them and that's how they want to do that, I think it's amazing. There's a lot of beautiful women that I love to watch, and like, you can see boobs and like they dress a certain way and they show cleavage and like, um, it is a very, very different experience. And that was something that I knew that I did not want to do. I didn't want to be sexualized as a streamer, and I didn't want me being a girl and dressing up a certain way or looking a certain way to be the drive for my content.
Right.
And I think that it's very hard in this space because we see a lot of people do that and they're very, very successful and very, very fast too. And everybody wants everything right now. And like that's not necessarily answer for everybody. And so like if you feel like that isn't you and that's not what you want to pursue, then you need to figure out how you want to pursue it and how you want to present yourself. And so I kind of went down that road. And what I started to do was I started to watch people that I knew had paved the road already for women that didn't want to do that. And again, I am not knocking anybody that
Mm-hmm.
does that. There are beautiful women that do that and it works. And they're also really good at trolls. I actually watch like Amaranth. I
Mm-hmm.
watch her because of how she handles trolls. So that's what I was gonna get to. I watch women that have paved the way for women that don't want to show skin to get their way. And then I also watch women that do because how am I gonna handle trolls? You know, um, so I started watching like BB Jess. I met Erin Zona through doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
I know she's been on your podcast too. She's one of the first girl streamers that I found on Kick. That was like, oh my god, I love her. She's a stoner. She plays like cozy games. I met her while she was playing Disney Dreamlight. And the way she talked to me, and the way she presented herself, and like she doesn't really show any skin. And I was like, okay, I want to watch how she handles things and how she builds her community. And so I just started looking for people like that, so that I could understand how to navigate that a little bit better and not to copy them. But it's cool to sit here and say those things. And like, I'm grateful that I found those people. And also watching BB Jess. BB Jess is an amazing content creator. She's super popular and has grown so much, but sometimes she shows a little cleavage and sometimes she doesn't, and she's in baggy clothes, and the way she handles trolls is amazing. um and so it gave me the confidence to sit here and not have to show my boobs or show how I look a certain way. And I'm actually a little sad I haven't had to deal with trolls, but I have built a community where I have mods and I have friends that are always in my streams, and I know if something is going to happen, they will also help me handle it too. So I think, doing some research and watching other streamers and how they handle things so that you can kind of create your own way to handle that, and move forward without having no clue what to do, I think is a really good thing to do. And then also how you build your community is really important. um, and if you build it genuinely and with positivity, like you'll surround yourself with people like that. I think the one thing I did have is I had somebody start talking about politics, and like I read it. My first response was like, hey, I don't really know anything about that, so I don't feel comfortable talking about it. And they kept going. And one of my community members, Scoopy Twos, he actually was, hey, dude, no politics in here, please. And the guy stopped. And so it was simple. It was easy. And like it was really cool to see that because now I feel even safer in my
Yeah.
own streams knowing that I have community members that feel confident enough to speak up and not be rude.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen that go very bad for some streamers as well, where they have to ban people for trying to step up and then they
Yeah,
fight.
and then they just come
And
back
like,
on a second account or something.
yep. And I'm not looking for that, And so I try to
Yeah.
surround myself with people that I know will support me. So I think that I hope that that answers that. And I hope that that can help
Yeah.
some other women streamers out there. And again, I am not knocking anybody who shows more skin than I do. I think it's amazing that they're confident and can do it. Well, I'm jealous of the money and what they get out of it, but that's not who I want to be.
Yeah.
Um, And it has given me more confidence figuring that out
Yeah.
along the way. And it's easier to hit live because I'm like, I am okay with how I want to be. And I have figured out the steps to handle things too. And like, I'm prepared. I'm ready for a troll to come in and just be like, oh, thanks, dude. I hope you have a great day, and like kill them
Yeah.
with kindness. Or let them troll like BB Just does and then ban them, you know?
Yeah.
So I have steps to take and I'm prepared for things if it happens.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate the response, and I definitely appreciate the transparency because, just like I said, it's always I never have a distinctive way how I asked that question because I know most of the time any ladies that are listening aren't listening to me, which is not a problem at all. I'm not offended. That's how the space is. They don't want to hear another man giving a perspective on a woman. I totally understand that, and so I appreciate the transparency of saying some of the realer things that, of course, need to be said. That, of course, I can't say because that would be awful, and I don't want to say because I don't want to offend everybody. I want everybody to
Yeah.
feel appreciated and respected. But I have kind of made a mental mark that any lady that I have on this podcast, I really try to at least throw one or two questions in there from the women gaming community because, again, you guys deserve to be heard and you guys deserve to get a lot more respect than you do. So I just always like to throw that in there. And on top of that, I don't say this every single podcast, and I don't think I've said it in a while. But even something super simple and silly, I'll ask about how to network and how to make more friends and stuff. And then I'll ask, just like you did, where I asked for the women community, how can you make more girlfriends and stuff like that. Something that I really like is on my Twitter page. I'm not calling it X, on Twitter page. I have, of course, my Feeds Mindset. I actually have a Twitter for specifically my podcast that A, only posts my podcast, and B, only follows people that have been on my podcast. And the reason why I like doing that is because if you listen to my podcast and you like the people that I have on, or if you like me or the women creators that are on there, you can click who I'm following. And without even watching all those, you can see all the other people that share some type of similarities with me and Miss Rose here. And you can find other sick guys and girls that are genuine and that have open hearts. And it's just kind of like I said, the way that I function is if I trust so and so trust you, I trust you. And that's just kind of how I have my podcast. So everybody that I have interviewed on my podcast, I fully trust and I fully respect. And I like that because it allows it to be a tool for people that are newer to find people like Rose and say, hey, I watch Feed's podcast. I don't really have any friends, but you was really cool. Just wondered if we could play some Final Fantasy 14 sometime. Simple things like that. And stuff like that makes my day. And the cool thing that I want to add on to that is I've actually seen that happen. I've had people reach out to me saying that people have connected with them and reached out to them and they watched their podcast. They had no idea who they were until they met them off my podcast. And that's the things that I'm looking for. I feel like that's kind of a big misconception with my podcast is some people think that I have underlying things like I'm trying to blow up off of your community or this or that or whatever. And it's completely the opposite because the coolest thing for me is being able to sit here and understand you and then watching the same thing that I just understood and you share it with a community that knows bits and pieces about you. And I have a complete flipped version of how my podcast is handled. And I like that because that is a way that I stay genuine in how I hold myself accountable. So I definitely always give that bit of advice for anybody random that's listening, or if you're not random, if you're a part of my community or Rose's community, if you have other people that are like-minded, like her, or if you like me or whatever, there's so many more creators that I've talked to, her being the 44th person that you can click on my Twitter page, click on everybody who I'm following, and if you think Arizona's a cool creator, you can go watch the podcast I did with her, and then you can decide there. So I like that I'm able to use that as a tool for creators.
No, I love that. I shortly realized, like, as I started to surround myself with people, that I need to keep my circle small, but then also like if somebody came from your chat and was like, oh, like Feed sent me over, I'd be like, oh my god, this person's super super cool because I know you and like I know you're genuine. Like you surround yourself with good people and like yeah, and it's a really really cool way to network. So like that is definitely also another way to yeah to meet other people. And you
Yeah,
do have to put yourself out there a little bit with some of those people, and like how you're explaining to connect to. But like I even Respawn putting all of us together and like basically like here's your like cool people. If you want to
yeah,
collab, go have
yeah,
fun. And like God, I've met some of the coolest people doing that. But because of the connection of Respawn, I knew they were good humans,
yeah.
and like I have not had an issue with anybody in Respawn. I have not had that bad experience in Respawn. And like I don't I don't know that you would, minus maybe the beginning of recruits and when they
Right.
do their big poll, because that
Right.
poll isn't
Yeah,
like
everybody's
what
going to
we have
have some
now.
things to say, of course. But yeah,
Yep,
no,
yep, yep.
I fully agree, and
Trust.
that's the same exact thing that I said earlier on this podcast. That was, of course, not the whole reason, but that was definitely one of the main reasons why I wanted to be a part of this. Is just because the experience I've had being surrounded by these other creators. So definitely share the same thing. Well, Rose, we have talked a lot. We've got to know a lot about
I'm
you.
sorry.
No, it is no big deal. It's no big deal at all. Like I said, I don't mind how long these podcasts go. It was very solid back and forth. I just appreciate your time being able to be here today. Anybody watching, if you want to go check Rose out, her Twitter hashtag is below her head. If you want to go in the description, you can check out all our links. Go check her out. I think you said you're even going to be live tonight, and it's actually kind of cool because we have agreed to go ahead and post this podcast today. At the end of the day, in hindsight of what's going to happen tomorrow, possibly. And so, if you're watching this around a couple hours from now, if it's about 8-9 o'clock, same day for you, go check out Rose. She'll probably be live somewhere around that time. Rose, with everything that's going on, of course, I appreciate your time being able to be
I
here
appreciate you.
and sharing your experiences. Of course, as a woman creator, being transparent for the other ladies out there, I'm sure it means a lot to them. And of course, it means a lot to me because that's a big thing. Is I want to spread awareness, but again, like I said, that my main goal of this podcast is maintaining the comfortability, and I just want to make sure that you feel safe when you share these things. And I don't like talking about that, like while we're still recording that much, but it is a big important factor for me. And the reason why I'm saying it is because, of course, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and I appreciate you creating this space and giving me the opportunity to share some advice with people and spread some positivity with you. I am all for that, and if you want to have me back on, I would love to be here. Also, dude, good luck tomorrow. I hope to see your name up there.
Yeah, of course. Good luck to you too. There's definitely a lot of people that I'm rooting for, but it's going to be a wild time. Of course, one of the last final questions I have that I always ask at the end: is there anything that you have exciting coming up that you're excited to share with anybody?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow and with Respawn Invitational being over with. And my raids are on pause right now. I am so excited to start collabing with more people. Like I started collabing more with them in Respawn and got out of my comfort zone doing that. And it's been a lot of fun. So I'm going to start pursuing some other games,
It's cool.
maybe some more horror games. But I just definitely want to like collab with a bunch of other people and have some fun doing very different things since my raid nights are on pause until probably like June or July right now. So I got time to do all these like fun things that I
Yeah.
usually don't have time for on my streams.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. And that's like on topic of horror games. I'll always reference that to everybody. If you decide to sit down and play Outlast and do a Let's Play, it will be the most rewarding thing after everything's recorded. When it's happening, it sucks. But when it's done and you get to watch yourself, if you decide to dabble into more horror, I would definitely try out Outlast and do a little Let's Play because it's definitely one of the funnest things that I've done doing a Let's Play. So just a bit of advice if you decided to do it. Well, to wrap everything up here, very last thing before we go, is there any last words you have for anybody watching?
Um, trust the process and be yourself. Honestly, simple, easy little things and daily reminders that I think we all need.
Definitely, for sure. Well, Rose, again, I appreciate you being on. Guys, this has been episode 44 of Feeds Mindset. Again, thank you so much. Please go check out Rose in the description below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Feeds, and we're out, guys.